Alright, well, in an unsurprising but still interesting turn of events, California has further screwed itself up with its AB5 law, which essentially makes it harder for companies like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Grubhub, those gig companies. AB5 makes it harder for these companies to treat their workers as contractors rather than employees. That means that their workers are now eligible for minimum wage, they can join a labor union, they're eligible for paid time off, workers' comp, family leave, whole host of other benefits. Basically, what this boils down to is that the Californian government forced all these companies to provide a substantial amount more benefits. Now, those workers are forced by law to receive more benefits. I could see how you may think this is a good thing if that is where your thought process on this ends. But unfortunately, if you know anything about these companies, you would know that they operate on a pretty slim margin or are still unprofitable, like Uber. They cannot afford this, so downsizing, layoffs, reduced hours is exactly what you should expect from this, if you think it through. And that's exactly what happened. People started getting laid off. They lost out on hours, and this overall is hurting people. It's just yet another example of some benevolent government endeavor that backfires spectacularly, and it's terrible, and I feel terrible for these people. But even Vox, one of the most ridiculous so-called media outlets in the US, praised this law, saying that these workers have been without basic labor protections, and this gig law will be a win for these laborers. So the law passes, and I think Vox may have had an "oh crap, this is expensive and we can't afford it" moment, and then they had to cut hundreds of freelance jobs ahead of the gig economy changes. So because of the very law Vox supported and praised, they now have to let people go because of it. There might be a lesson in all of this for them. Just maybe. But this is terrible too, because a lot of people want these jobs as some supplemental income just to help out a bit. And they're screwed now as well. And for all the workers that understood what this law was going to mean for them, for all the people who may have thought through the implications of government intervention and realized that there are undesirable consequences when it comes to this stuff, I truly feel sorry for them. This is a terrible situation they've been put in. But for all the workers who demanded this law, I feel bad for them too, as they've been injured by their own ignorance. But perhaps it's a wake-up call for them as well. When legislation comes up against reality, some nasty outcomes can occur. And look, I'd love it if California did the right thing and whittled their government down to nothing. It's an incompetent group of economic illiterates. I would love it if they did that so they could truly improve as a state, although I know they won't. So unfortunately, the only way I can see how they may learn is by keeping down this road of heavy government involvement and watching the state implode as it's doing right now, and perhaps that hard lesson may finally be learned. Although some people just probably won't learn, as many of them are pretty far gone. Looking at this Vox article here, it talks about a law professor, Vina Dubal, at the University of California, Hastings, in which, because of her support for this law, she wrote that she had tears in her eyes and goosebumps on her limbs. Well, a lot of these workers have tears in their eyes now too, but for very different reasons. So frankly, she should be ashamed of herself, and she needs to go back to the drawing board on how she thinks reality itself operates. And that goes for everyone else as well, who thinks you can just have government write the correct things down on pieces of paper to mandate how reality should be, and not have any terrible, unintended, and undesirable consequences occur. If you think that won't happen, it is time for you to go back to the drawing board too. You have made a severe error, and I'm unsure of how clearer that could be with how this played out. But that is it for now. Like, sub, share, and all that good stuff, and take it easy.